Alright, what's up guys? FF Dev here, and I hope you guys enjoyed that intro. Don't be like the T-Man. Just know. Don't. Alright, so I'll tell you guys what we got going on here. This is the way I kinda did my engine. And it's very early in development. I'll just show you a little bit of the architecture here. On the right hand side of the screen, I've got everything in a source folder from the art. For a simple little Pong game I made, fonts that I used, but anyway, let's get into it. We'll start by going to our engine header file. So this is where all the magic happens. We got our engine constructor, we use an update loop, an input, handle input loop, that's what I call it, or function, a draw function, and a game events function, and we also have a string stream, which is used with our UI handler. Also, you can get a custom icon for your game or engine, whatever you want to do. And I have it set up here if you're familiar with the SFML Framework. That way your window width will match your mode that you're in on your computer. Get your width and height and save it into a variable, each one. And here's where we initialize our render window to that. Also, tried to put some nice little comments on here so you know what everything does. I can disable the full screen if you're not familiar with it, just by taking that out. We got a delta time variable, a game clock, a game timer, and an event variable. So without going into too much explanation, I added a component, which I call the shape component. And there's also an entity component, which uses sprites because this is a 2D engine, but the shape component is just using basic SFML sprites. And this is just how you construct them. And I did something a little interesting here, since it's my engine, I can do how I want. Right here, I put public for like all the functions that need to be called or will be called. Then I put private, but then I also added another private, which you don't have to do, because you could have just put everything in this private. But I thought it was nice to have a second private to put all the variables you're going to be using for a specific game. That way you can keep everything separate if you decide to use the engine. And let's see, I'll show you the implementation of it. This is the CPP file, this is the engine constructor. So as it starts, it loads my art for my engine, sets the icon, and it also initializes the UI handler, which everything I try to have notes on everything, not going too much in depth. And then the update function here, the main game loop, I just limited the frame rate to 120. This is handling the delta time. This is our string stream for this particular game, which I'm using for the UI to get the score text, which I'll show you that at the end. And to keep everything in a nice, neat order, this is how those functions are called: the input handler, which handles input, the game event handler, and the draw calls. So that way when you actually want to create your game, put all the input inside of here. Note to myself, I'll put a note here: you do not want to put your input in the poll event, only the close window function, so that way when they click on close the window, it just closes it. You only want that under the poll event, and the rest regular input for the player, you just put it here in this part. And this is my little bit of using some of the built-in. I could have wrote my own way to check for collision, but I just did this, use the SFML because it would work, and why not? But you know, I did write a get shape function, and then it also sets the player position and ball position. I added that function in to set the positions. And that goes back to the shape component. Let me show you that. I'm not going to show the entity component because it's not completely finished, but it's really similar to the shape component. But when you create a new shape, right here, you create it. These are all the functions. You have a default constructor, which you can use, which is basically useless for now. Probably take it out. And this is the one I used. The second one's the one I ended up using, where you can give the shape its starting position, its scale, its color, and its move speed, because a lot of the stuff you're going to want to move, but I mean, even if you don't want it to move, you can still use it. A set position, and all these, they also come with booleans to tell if they're moving left, right, up, or down, or if it's active. comes with its position, its move speed. I haven't done anything completely with this yet, but I'm gonna with the circle shape yet. I just use the rectangle shape for now. But there's gonna be 2 basic shapes so far. I'm just trying to get this where you can create some simple games going. As far as in the CPP file, there's not too much interesting stuff going on. That's the constructor, just showing how I set the position to it. And you can also set the color, you know, everything you know that you passed into it is set, and it shows that. And right now that's just the return, you know, to get the shape function and set position function. So when I make future games, I don't have to rewrite these. I'm just using basic shapes, which I'll be doing the same thing with the entity component. It's going to be nearly identical. Except with sprites, this is our UI handler header. There's not really much to it. It also handles our views, like our game view and UI view, and text and font. This is just the code for it, how I wanted to set it for this particular game. Also in the engine, I believe it's in the constructor, in the main engine constructor, that's where you initialize and set up your views, where you want to set your size and everything in the center for it. And there's not too much more to it for now, it's still kind of early. Of course, you've already seen the main loop where I initialize my engine, and then just put the updates. All you gotta do, and all your logic is handled in the engine.cpp file. So I'm trying to make it, and I'll show you just a simple example of what I ended up making. It's just a simple Pong column. Right here it is. You can see I got the score counting, everything works. Could have done more with it, you know, to make it a little better, but I was just trying to get the game up and running and show that everything is working properly. Definitely going to be adding more stuff to this. Keep missing. There we go. But if you guys like this video, you know, sure hit the like button. I'll keep you posted on updates. Any suggestions on anything to add, let me know below. Thank you guys for stopping by. This is all for now, and it takes a lot of work just to get a simple Pong clone. It would have been easier to write the whole game, write Pong without separating everything out, but in the long run this will make things easier to create games in the future. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys in the next devlog. Later.